let's welcome in now the management at IOC. They are now joining us. Sir, thank you so much for taking out time for us. Let's first start with what is the fuel demand that you're seeing because of this so-called localized lockdown. Has the fuel demand taken an impact?
See, if you see versus last year we had a nationwide lockdown, which has not happened this year. This year it has been more localized in different geographies. So I think if I compare with, say, last month, then the overall demand has gone down by about 15 to 20% in all the segments, of course. And ATF, of course, is the worst hit. But MS, HSD, you can say the demand has gone down by about 15 to 20%. LPG, of course, as expected, LPG has increased by 10%. And ATF, of course, was always limping the entire last year, and it continues to do so. But then everything was on the way to recovery before we hit the second wave. So now let's wait and see when things really get normalized. But as on date, as at the moment as I speak, the demand is about 15 to 20% lower.
Sir, can you particularly talk about the impact because of the localized lockdowns, as well as what are the operations of the company? How are you managing it in such period of time?
See, there's a big difference between the first lockdown and this. Then, as I told you, the automotive demand had dropped by nearly 60%. In fact, my refineries had operated at about 40% in the month of April last year. This year, it has not been so. The automotive demand is still there. It's in the range of 80-85%, as I say. And I'm very happy to share that all my assets, that is, we have got 125 terminals, 95 LPG bottling plants, 121 aviation stations, 14 lube plants, and our cryogenic plant at Nasik. See, we are also manufacturing this oxygen containers, cryogenic containers in these times of need. So all my operating assets are working absolutely, and all my LPG delivery boys, my pump attendants across the 32,000 retail outlets, everybody is working. So the entire fuel chain is very much on, and we understand that a fuel disruption in these times will be disastrous for the country. Already we are having a medical emergency at hand. So the fuel lines are kept open, and hats off to all the IOC, my channel partners, everybody, for doing a great service in maintaining these fuel lines, even in these most trying circumstances. So everything is under control. All the refineries are operating. We have got 11 refineries, out of which I think only Guwahati refinery is having a planned shutdown, which is already there. But otherwise, all the 10 refineries are operating. They're operating at reduced load, about 80 to 85%, as I told you. But nevertheless, they're operating. And Panipat naphtha cracker, I must mention this separately, because we generate medical-grade liquid oxygen in Panipat by virtue of the petrochemical plants there. And we have ramped up the oxygen production from there in view of these times. And we have cut the throughput of our units, monoethylene glycol, which consume this oxygen, so that we are able to maximize the availability of liquid oxygen. So all the petrochemical plants, all the refineries, and all the other assets are working fine.
So what are you looking at in terms of providing infrastructure or help in terms of oxygen? How are you managing to provide oxygen when there is so much shortage and everybody is stepping up their production?
Okay, first and foremost, as I told you, we are now supplying about 270 metric tons per day of liquid oxygen, medical grade. And we have also got abundance of gaseous oxygen, again medical grade. So I'm very happy to share with you that on 16th, that is tomorrow, a 450-bed COVID care and COVID hospital is being inaugurated next to the premises of my Panipat naphtha cracker, wherein we'll be supplying the medical grade oxygen to the 450-bed hospital. Apart from that, we have been given the task of mobilizing ISO containers and LNG tankers, of course, converted to oxygen, for the crisscross movement of the liquid oxygen in the country. And I am very happy to tell you that by the end of May, nearly 108 tankers, including ISO containers, will be plying on the roads, so that we're able to take the oxygen from the oxygen surplus areas to the oxygen deficit areas. And this entire job has been done by Indian Oil. And we have developed an app specifically for this that is called a Sanjeevani app, in which we are in coordination with the central and the state government, because eventually the allotment is done by these authorities. We are responsible for taking out, for the transportation, for the logistics, IOCL is responsible. So that is one part. And by the end of June, we'll be having about 200 ISO containers in the system for this. Apart from this, we have also tied up with the Middle East and other countries for the supply of liquid oxygen. And that is also nearly 14,000 tons of liquid oxygen we have lined up on a commercial basis. So all these activities, and at Panipat, since I told you we have a gas about 99.9% purity, medical grade, we have also set up a facility for filling up in cylinders at 30 bar. At the moment, it is 30 bar. I know the normal pressure is 150 bar, but we have already placed orders for these compressors. And by end of June, we are getting these compressors, and then we'll be able to fill about 1,500 cylinders at 150 bar pressure. So all in all, we have ramped up all possible ways, all possible avenues by which we can contribute our might to this national emergency.
Thanks so much, sir, for taking out time for us.